Let's see. Yay, they figured it out. Well, hello, good morning, everybody. Welcome to your Friday morning little mini practice. This morning I'm going to be offering a little bit of a practice for your feet. I've gotten a number of people who have gotten in touch with me about their feet and their ankles really bothering them. And I was thinking that we would practice a little bit of yin yoga this morning that specifically targets the feet, but we would also focus in on like the legs, the hips, and the low back as well, because when things are kind of off there in your hips, your low back, that can translate downward into your feet. So why don't we get started by just making sure we have some props around us. There are a few things that we might use during this practice. If you happen to have a tennis ball, that would be fantastic. A tennis ball is going to be super helpful for cranky feet. All right. If you have a strap, a belt, this has some kind of jingly things on it and some kind of fancy thing. Whatever you have nearby that you can like loop your foot into would be really helpful as well. And we're going to be practicing kind of a longer toe squat today. Toe squat is one of those yin poses where you're just like, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? But it can be extremely helpful, especially if your feet are not the happiest. So when I practice a toe squat for a long time, more than a minute, I like to have props. Blocks can be super helpful for this, but really anything that you can place underneath your knees to kind of take the pressure off of your feet. That can be pillows, that can be books, that might be 2 saucepans from your kitchen, whatever it is. So take a little bit of time to just gather up those props. Again, the tennis ball, for those of you who are just joining us, the tennis ball, the strap, and something maybe block-like, something that you can place underneath your knees. Right. So how's everybody feeling this morning? All those storms rolling through last night kind of felt nice. I'm a big fan of storms these days. I remember when I was younger, like as a child, they scared me, but now I just think of them as kind of like a cleansing in some way. Kind of knocking the pollen out of the air, bringing us some water, letting those flowers bloom. Right. So let's begin our practice. And I'm thinking that this morning we're going to get started lying down in constructive rest. I think we do this quite a bit on Friday mornings. It just feels like the right thing, the right thing for me at least. So getting started in constructive rest, make sure that you have, at the very least, your strap nearby. And if you have a block or something like a block, it's going to be helpful to place that underneath the back of your head so that one of the edges of the block touches down to the base of the skull. So we have a bunch of pressure points here at the base of the skull. Okay, and if you have that block-like item underneath your head, you might rock your head really slowly from side to side, like a half a dozen times, a dozen times. Sometimes when we are experiencing stress, we get kind of tense there. It can cause headaches, it can cause all kinds of weird jaw issues. Okay, this is a really interesting time because it's like chronic stress. And yeah, we have our moments of release and relief. That is definitely true. We need those. But on the whole, it's like the stress is kind of ever present. Right? And some of us, are familiar with what that's like for whatever reason, and others, this is kind of a new thing. So while we're here, it's just really nice to make time and space for little pockets within the discomfort, little pockets where we can find ourselves again, where we can find what feels like solid ground again. So if you're lying here in constructive rest, just find a little bit of stillness and allow your body to settle into the points that are touching the floor. Let your breath be nice and big here. And our yoga practice is really about giving ourselves, again, that time and space to come back home again to our bodies, right? To give ourselves a little bit of freedom from the constant mental chatter. So it is helpful, though, to just take notice of the mental chatter for a couple of breaths or maybe more. What kind of chattiness is going on up there today? Maybe it's not friendly chatter. Maybe the thoughts going through are big or scary or overwhelming. And just for now, can you kind of sit back and watch all the thoughts pass through? You're going to take about 10 more breaths here in your constructive rest. If you still have that block underneath your head, it might be nice to take it away and just stretch your arms out past your head. And wake up those shoulders, your underarms, and the sides of your body a little bit. You might even connect your hands to the opposite elbow, creating this little frame for your head. I'm not here to tell you to put your thoughts away, to drop them, to leave them at the door, to watch them settle. None of that. I'm just here to ask you to be present with yourself as you are this morning. Can you stay with yourself? Good. For these last couple of breaths, with each exhale, feel your feet on the floor. Good. And then if your arms are overhead, go ahead and release them. And we're just going to pull the left knee in towards the chest. If you want to extend that right leg out long, you're welcome to. And let's just rotate that ankle a whole bunch of times. Okay, so as you rotate your ankle around, really think about pointing your foot, really flex that foot. Okay, circles in both directions here. Wonderful. And then let's grab a hold of the strap. And as you take the strap to your foot, let's bring the strap to the place like closest to your heel. So rather than bringing it up close to the ball mound, let's bring it down to the heel first. And kind of snuggle it in there. Okay, think about really pressing that strap into the foot. Okay, just allow the foot to do whatever it's going to do. Mine is like somewhere in between a point and a flex when I press down onto that area. Good, and take notice of your hip and your low back and your hamstrings. And then finally your shoulders too. Think about the shoulders, finding some more ease here. A couple of really deep breaths. Good, and then let's slide the strap up towards the ball mount now. Right, as you move the strap up towards the ball mount, how does that change things in your foot, the back of the knee? All of these things are connected. So it's really clear that everything is connected, that our foot is not just some like weird object at the bottom that's separate from everything else. Right, take notice of the sensations that come up, where you feel them, what you're feeling. Just a few more deep breaths here. Maybe a little rocking from side to side. I'm a big fan of that like subtle exploratory movement. It helps to keep me in my practice, in my body, rather than up in my head. All right, and then let's go ahead and we're just going to release that foot down to the floor. And let's take constructive rest again, just for a moment, a constructive rest. This time, let's really think about this internal rotation of the femurs or your thigh bones and your hip sockets. So your feet are going to be wide. Okay, the outer edges of the feet sort of press down into the floor of the mat, but then the knees drop in towards each other. And just spend 1 or 2 moments here giving your low belly a little bit of a massage. Just a little something here. Okay, notice if your low belly is moving with your breath or if it feels kind of tight or restricted. Good, and then let's come back through and we're just gonna take that right knee in towards the chest. You can keep that left leg bent if you want to, or extend it out nice and long and take those big circles with the ankle. We're gonna a whole bunch of circles here. Oh man, my ankles are the crackiest things ever. I don't know if you guys have that experience too, but when I wake up in the morning and take these ankle rotations, there's always some noise every time. Right, so just, 5 or 6 rotations in each direction. Right, what does that feel like? There was a period of my life where when I woke up in the morning, my feet and ankles were really sore. I'd have to move around for a little bit, just like this, to get them feeling comfortable again. You take notice of what your joints are telling you. Are they feeling kind of inflamed? Are they feeling kind of cranky? You need another moment with the circles here before we find our strap again. Here it is. And as you take that strap up to the foot, let's bring it very close to the heel to begin with. Okay, so rather than just sort of setting it up towards the toes, bring it to the heel. And think about kind of drawing that foot towards you a little bit while you straighten through the leg. Good, let the shoulders kind of hang here, the elbows kind of hang. I like to loop the strap around my hands so that my hands don't have to work as hard to do the gripping. And then, yeah, you might take that little side to side kind of rock. Good, just a few more breaths with the strap right near your heel. And then begin to slide that strap up towards the ball round of the foot. Good, and as you find that, notice what has changed. The back of your leg, and the hip, under the glutes and the low back. Awesome. I've been taking a lot of the classes that Abide teachers are offering on Zoom, and in almost every class, there's some amount of like leg stretching. It's almost as if we have this this thread running through all of our classes that we need a little bit more grounding, right? There's a lot of anxiety out there, right? A lot of anxiety within us. So practicing these leg stretches in some way can help us to feel a little bit steadier, a little bit stronger, and a little bit more on the earth. Good. Just one or two more breaths here. Wonderful. And then we'll go ahead and just release that. And this time, let's take a recline bound angle. Right in this recline bound angle, it's going to be like a big stretch overhead too, a little arch of your back. Really press the soles of the feet into each other. Good. You might even rock the hips a little bit from side to side. I'm a big fan of this like kind of shaking motion. This little bit of shaking, this little bit of rocking. Right, and then from here we're going to make our way up into a seated position for just a little bit of massage, a little bit of self-massage of the feet. I guess I'll sit back here so y'all can see what I'm doing. All right, so we're going to begin with the right foot. Let's cross the right foot over that left knee. And I think we're going to get started with the toes. This is nobody's favorite thing to do. It can be rather uncomfortable, but see if you can slide your fingers in between your toes. Great. See what's going on there. Is it possible? If it's not possible, no worries. Just do what you can. And as you slide the fingers in between the toes, you might kind of like turn the toes in one direction and then in the other. Oh my goodness. It can be really intense. It can be really intense. If it's feeling really intense, maybe back off a little bit. Maybe take one finger away. Good. If you're feeling like you want to go for some ankle cranks here, it's a thought. Good. Couple more breaths. Alrighty, and then let's remove the fingers and just take our thumbs and sweep them along the arch, along both sides of the arch. As you sweep your thumbs along the arch, notice if anything feels tender, if there's any part of your foot that needs a little more pressure, maybe a little less pressure. Our feet are filled with vital points, with points that if you were to go to acupuncture, you would get some needles. One of those points in particular is liver 2, and it's located in between the big toe and the second toe, just a little bit up onto the foot. So a little baby massage here in between the big toe and the second toe might feel nice. Great. And squeezing the thumb from the bottom and the index finger from the top. Just massage there in between the big toe and the second toe. Good. A nice grounding point. Right, and then let's go ahead and just release the hand from the foot. Take the hands back behind you, bring your feet to the floor, and let's rock from side to side here. Knees drop over, both in the same direction. It's okay if one of your glutes peels up and away from the floor. It's like a nice little twisting action too for the low belly. Nice broadening of the collarbones. Good, and then as you come back through to the center, let's just cross that left ankle over the right knee, and we're going to repeat the same thing. So, fingers in between the toes. Oh my gosh. This side is always so much more intense for me. You're gonna have one foot that's tighter. That's just like the way it is. So as you get your fingers in between your toes, take notice if that's sustainable, if you can sit with that for a few minutes, or maybe like a minute, let's say a minute. It might feel like easy to do or perhaps not. So as you get there, you might kind of move the toes side to side. Okay, kind of cranking the wrist a little bit at first. And then see if you can take those circles with the ankle, with your fingers in between the toes. Oh boy. Hey, if things feel intense, remember to breathe. Remember to breathe. When we take deep breaths, our nervous system becomes a little bit calmer, a little bit more easygoing in the face of the weirdness, right? Need a couple more breaths. Alrighty, and then let's go ahead and just release the fingers from in between the toes. And we're going to take the thumbs and just rub the thumbs up and down the arch. Okay, maybe one thumb's going in one direction, the other thumb's going in the other direction. I wasn't a huge fan of going to get pedicures before all of this went down. In fact, I think I've had one in the past 5 years or something like that. But as I look at my feet, I just recognize that, maybe I need to be paying a little bit more attention to them. Maybe they need a little bit more care on my end. Okay, maybe your feet need a little bit more care as well. Can you do that for yourself? I think we're finding out that there are lots of things that we can do for ourselves at this point, out of necessity. A few more moments massaging your feet. And then let's find that liver 2 point, which is that nice point right in between the big toe and the second toe. Let's bring the index finger onto the top of the foot and the thumb onto the bottom of the foot and just massage up and down that line. Good, a few deep breaths here. Right, wonderful. And then let's just release out of that for a moment. Take the soles of the feet to the floor. And again, just that little bit of a rock, side to side. Another nice thought might be to take a reverse tabletop this morning. That's a little bit more for your shoulders, your wrists, your biceps. You drop the head back if you take your reverse tabletop. Really thinking about using the muscles of the glutes, the backs of the thighs to hold you up. Awesome, and then we're going to set ourselves back down and prepare for, oh no, the toe squat. So toe squatting, it can be intense. Ideally, your toes are tucked underneath and all of your toes are touching down to the floor. Now, when I sit up without anything underneath my knees, my pinky toes are hovering. It's not quite the best for my big toe either. It feels like my big toes are jamming into the floor. So building this little bench for your knees is really great, right? When I bring that little bit of support under the knees, I feel my pinkies connect. I feel the soles of the feet stretching, and it doesn't feel like nearly as intense. Okay, you can bring the blocks up to a really high setting if you want to. Okay, there are so many ways to do this. And in fact, you can even bring your hands to the floor if you want to take some of the pressure off. That upright position can sometimes really bring the pressure into the feet. If you have a cup of coffee or tea around, it might be nice to sip it. We think of this pose as like, oh my God, such a serious pose, so intense. And it really is, but With the intensity, can you find ways to like take the pressure off? Just gonna sit here and sip my coffee for a few moments. Good. Maybe we'll just take 7 or 8 more breaths here in the toe squats. And if your shoulders are doing something serious, if your head and neck is doing something serious, maybe you want to roll your head around or even like shake your shoulders out a little bit. Let's take one more deep breath here. Big inhale and big exhale. All right. And to come out of this, oh, this is my favorite. Let's just pitter patter the feet on the floor here. Take that little, maybe it's like an adult temper tantrum. I have something living underneath me, so I'm not going to kick too hard, but maybe you don't, and maybe you like really kick the floor with your feet. Good. You're just sort of waking up those parts that might have fallen asleep a little bit. Now we're going to set back into an ankle stretch. So your knees might stay up on whatever's underneath them as you bring the hips towards the heels. Maybe not. Maybe that's really, really, really intense and you want to take the blocks away for whatever is there. And that's fine too. And then a third option is to like float the knees. So finding the thing that seems like it will work for maybe 10 breaths or so. Let's just sit for a moment. And as you sit, you might ponder, like, what do you need today? What kind of qualities do you need to invoke a little bit? Maybe today you need some patience. Maybe today you need some fierceness. Maybe today you just need to remind yourself to breathe. Good. A few more deep breaths. Great, and then go ahead and set those knees back down. Oh, yes. And we're gonna stretch into downward facing dog just for a moment. As you drop your head down, really shake it out. You can send your hips from side to side here. It's a nice thing to do for yourself. And then begin to walk the feet towards the hands. And stand up. And we're not going to finish in Shavasana today. It's morning, we need to get up, we need to get at 'em. What we're going to do is we're going to finish with a little bit of foot rolling. Adjust the camera just a touch. So maybe you can see my face too. All right, so find your tennis ball. And then we're going to take the hands to the hips and bring the tennis ball underneath your right foot. And let's start by rolling that tennis ball up and down the arch. So we massaged the arch with our fingers before. This is a little different. This is kind of like using gravity, the whole weight of your leg, to press the foot into the ball. Hey, what feels tender? What feels weird? Maybe there's a place where you want to like hang out for a moment, really press that tennis ball into. Maybe there's a place that's so tender you kind of want to avoid it, and that's also fine. Okay, this is about loosening, sure, but it's about getting information too. So we're never trying to like actively put ourselves into a lot of pain. So just a few more moments with the arch. Good. Ooh, kick my coffee. All right, and now we're going to take the heel to the floor. I'm going to turn so you can see. And we're just going to move the foot side to side with that tennis ball underneath the ball mound of the foot. So often the tennis ball tries to escape during this little part of it. So see what you can do to keep the ball under your foot. If it runs away though, just feel free to run and grab it, place it back under the foot. And we'll just take a few more breaths like this. Good, and then we're going to roll ourselves forward and place the tennis ball under the heel and step down a few times. And remember when we had the strap around our foot, how we kind of took that strap to that place just in front of our heel. This is going to be similar. We're going to look for that little divot and press in. Good, and then go ahead and just release, and let's stand up for a moment. Mountain pose, arms alongside the body, both feet on the floor. Notice that right foot now. And notice the left foot. Good, and then we're going to take that tennis ball underneath the left foot now. As you take the tennis ball underneath the left foot, first let's start along the arch. And again, this is my weird foot. This is my tight foot. Maybe it's your tight foot too, who knows? Kind of take notice of how things are feeling over here as compared to the other side. Okay, sometimes, we learn things about ourselves by doing practices like these. Oh yeah, I do, stand on my left foot a lot rather than standing on both feet. Or, oh yeah, my left hip is tighter. Maybe that's what's going on. All right, a few more moments here. Tennis ball up and down the arch. Wonderful. Couple more breaths. All right, and then let's turn to the side. Bring the heel to the floor, and let's rock that left foot from side to side, right along the ball mound. Throughout our whole body, we have this system called fascia. And the fascia is like, it's this very tough sheath made out of collagen. And it kind of holds us together. It's our connective tissue. It's present in every part of our body, all the way from the soles of the feet up to the top of the head. And on the bottom of our feet, we have our plantar fascia, and I'm sure many of you have heard of plantar fasciitis, this really painful condition where the fascia of the feet become inflamed. Okay, so when we practice things like this, we can help to relieve some of the tension in the plantar fascia. Okay, and hopefully then create just a little bit more sense of grounding. Okay, like it's okay to have our feet on the floor. Good, another moment or two like this. And then we're going to move it forward and place that tennis ball underneath the heel. Okay, just stepping down a few times. Ooh, this for me is always like, yikes. But in a good way, not a bad yikes. Maybe just 5 more steps down. All right, wonderful. And then let's take that tennis ball out of the way and come to stand up nice and tall on both of our feet. And see maybe if you can take your big toes to touch, just for laughs. If you want to have your feet a little bit apart, that's totally fine too. But let's stand here in mountain pose. Okay, spread the toes out wide, really feel your heels on the floor. Your weight back into your heels a little bit. Good, and just a few more deep breaths. Wonderful. And then we're just going to step the feet apart and shake it out. And rather than having some kind of formal end to the practice, I think we're just going to leave it here. All right, so finding a little bit of freedom and ease in the shoulders. Good, you might shake those shoulders out and then just move on with the rest of your day, right? move on with all the things you have to do, all the hats you have to wear. And we'll see you again really soon. I'll be back on Monday morning for meditation and mudra and breath work. There are 3 classes this weekend on Zoom, and I think 14 classes altogether on Zoom during the week, and of course our YouTube channel too. So feel free to dive into any of those as well. I'll see you real soon. Have a great weekend. Bye.